In this video, I'm walking through the three most important factors to optimize on category style pages to not only generate more traffic, but to also generate more revenue from that traffic. So the three main factors to make sure you optimize on any category style or collection style page on your site, and actually on any page. H tags, making sure they're optimized and not duplicated. And I'll talk more about this here in a second. Content on the page, and making sure the content is set up and optimized correctly and marked up correctly as well, especially for AI rankings, and internal linking. And this is key for helping with building relevancy on your website and helping you rank for the keywords you want to rank for. So first, if we look at H tags, the biggest factor that I see missed almost all the time is either not using an H1 at all, or an H1 that is not optimized for the best version or best variation of that keyword you want to rank for. Secondly, you want to use H2s as variations of that primary keyword. Another massive mistake I see is using the exact same H2 as the H1, just repeating the same keyword or phrase. That's not giving you as much value or benefit for your rankings as if you were to use variations of that key phrase instead. And another example here of a mistake that I see oftentimes is using the same H1 or same title on multiple pages. Now, this can cause keyword cannibalization and or make it more difficult for you to rank, even though you would think it would make sense that you should be ranking for these keywords because you have this on every page. But what actually happens is this causes more issues for your rankings at times and makes it more difficult or confusing as to which page is the best page to rank on your site for that keyword. So as an example here, the way to set this up and structure this would be to have a main services page where you're targeting something like metal fabrication services. This would be an example of an H1. You could take this off if you wanted to or leave it. It doesn't really matter. The big key is getting the primary keyword or phrase into that H1 in most cases. Now, you could also use variations, and if you're not getting the results you want with this as an H1, then use a variation in the H1 and instead test it as an H2. I've seen cases where that can happen as well. There's a lot of different moving parts and a lot of optimization factors at play here. So it's not a one size fits all in every case, but these are just best practices that I've seen. Then you would use H2s as precision laser cutting services, as an example, CNC machining and milling, TIG and MIG welding capabilities. And within each of these sections, you would then have content about the H2 topic. So you would talk a little bit about your precision laser cutting services. And in here, you can use links within this content, which will come down to this internal linking part here in a second. And then within all of these other sections here, you do the same thing. And if there is another section in here, then you would use an H3 nested underneath this H2. And then you'd go back to the H2. What you do not want to do is to skip a level and to go something like this, H1, H3. I see that sometimes as well. And that can also cause confusion and make it difficult for you to rank. And then you would have on your laser cutting service page, your H1 would be something like laser cutting services, stainless steel and aluminum, if those are the only two you offer. If you offer more, I would not recommend using this. Then it would just be something like this. And then materials we cut. And here you can have H3, stainless steel, and you would talk about that. And then in here, copper or whatever. I'm not even sure if you could do that, but you get the point. Point would be to make sure that you're using these strategically and structured correctly within your content to make it easy for your content to be understood as to what you should be ranking for. Now, with content, what you want to do, generally speaking, is to include some intro content above the products or above your primary categories that you have listed. And this is a little bit different depending on the type of site you have and the type of page this is on. But this part here, the additional text, this is crucial regardless of what type of page it is. And this is something that should be done to include as many keywords as possible based on the recommended or expected length of that content. And as an example here, if we look at Neuron Writer, I've put this tool or this category here, this keyword, I should say, metal fabrication services into here. And what you're looking at now is the expected range of how much content we need. So for this page, it recommends you should have 1,108 words based on the competitor sites ranking for this keyword. And the other thing this looks at then is the exact keywords and phrases we should include, the expected number of times to that keyword should be used within the content itself, an additional list of keywords and phrases to use within the content. And if you scroll back up to the top here and click on headings, it recommends different H1s to use, or keywords in the H1, I should say, and then also keywords and phrases to use within H2s and H3s to help you build that content for this page based on the competitor websites currently ranking for this keyword. And using something like this can help streamline your content process. So a tool like this can save you significantly on structuring your content and optimizing and writing content that makes sense based on the websites currently ranking for it. Now, next thing to look at then would be internal linking. And I want to talk a little bit about this process and how you can build a structure and a map to make it as easy as possible to build this and figure this out. There's a number of ways to do this, but one is to create a visual board like this. So in this case here, what you would do is create a page, materials we fabricate, and then from there, you would have, or on that page, I should say, you would have content about all the materials you fabricate. So you would talk about fabrication services and a little bit about the materials, how they work. And then on this materials we fabricate page, you would have information very briefly about stainless steel, galvanized, brass, heavy gauge, carbon, aluminum. All of that would be on the main materials we fabricate page. Now, if there is a significant amount of content to include about stainless steel fabrication, it would make sense to have an individual page. Each of these would technically be a new page. You'd have an individual page for that specific service, stainless steel fabrication. And you would link from this page to the materials we fabricate page and vice versa, back and forth. So if I draw this here, this page would link to the stainless steel page, and this page would link back to this one. What this does is provides a footprint for a search engine crawler to understand that these two pages are related. And within the, as an example here on the right side, on the stainless steel page, you would link to also any of the other related services. So you could link to, that is a crazy arrow. You would link to your aluminum fabrication services if it makes sense. And the reason why this is something that helps as well is because it provides a very clear understanding to an algorithm or robot or crawler, whatever you want to call it, as to how your content is related and what content is related, and gives an idea as to what keyword or phrase you want to rank for as well. And that makes it easier for you to rank for these keywords, especially when these pages are optimized correctly with all the factors that I was just mentioning here, with H tags, titles, descriptions, content. Then we're building optimized content based on Neuron Writer here. And then you're internally linking with relevant anchor text to relevant content that is optimized as well. That is how you would build a plan to set up and optimize your pages, build content on them, and internally link them together so it makes sense and helps you rank better for the keywords that make sense for you to rank for. And that's it. Hope you got some value from this video. If you did, subscribe to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. And I'll see you on the next one.